And you used to catch skunks, right?
Oh, that was my favorite.
Catching skunks.
Catching skunks.
How'd you do that?
Well, usually there was two of you, and when you'd see one, and I usually done the catching, Jake, Wilbur Shrew, and them that used to hunt with me, they, once we'd spot one, they'd keep the flashlight on the front of them, and then I'd go around the back and pick them up. Now there's an old saying that if you pick a skunk up, get his front feet off the ground, he can't do anything. Well, I don't know if that's ever been true or not, because I've already caught skunks, taken them home, told my mom to come outside, and I'd take the skunks out of the bag and let them go. And this wasn't as a joke or to tease them, this was to show what you got. Because that animal that you were just showing was maybe $5, $6, $7. And if you didn't have to ruin it when you killed it, always kept you $3, $4 higher because the fur wasn't damaged. Well, what I do is, I don't know how old I was when I started to learn to kill skunks. And they're in Ono, the Walburn family had this big mill or whatever those were called, and I forget what it was, that crushed apples and had to make apple cider and that. Well, that's just gravy for skunks or animals. And I'd catch them, put them in a bag, take them home. Now, you had to learn all this because you didn't know one showed you that kind of stuff.
You just figured it out yourself?
Yeah. And then when I get them home, we lived at Ono. That was before we lived up on the farm.
Yep, so you're still pretty young.
Oh, yeah. That was one thing I learned to do when I was just old enough to do it. It's skunks, and there was a guy by the name of William Sherman. He bought hides. And he told me one time, first time I started doing skunks and muskrats and that, he said, "Skunk," said, "if you want to make any money," he said, "you don't ruin a hide by killing it. And what you do," and he's the one who taught me how to put them in a bag. I'd have sometimes two or three in a bag, and I'd take them home and I'd dump them out so Mom could see them. Once in a while, you'd get one that's sprayed, but then what you would do to kill them is hold them by the tail, pick them up, and you took a stick or whatever you had. You always carried something much like a cane. And while you were holding them, you'd hit it. And you'd break his neck. Or when you hit him. And then you didn't even need to skin them. You just would sell them for the same way without a cut
on the hide.
And you'd always get $1 to $2 more if they weren't have a damaged hide. Now once in a while you'd get a little careless and you'd get it, but no, always, if my mother was sitting here now, she'd tell me that she could tell if we got any skunks, cause you'd go out for late in the evening, and then you'd come back and she said, if I heard Sterling knocking at the back door, instead of just walking in, I knew he had skunks, or got some, whether it was one or two. And that's the way we did it then. And oh, I got sprayed more than once. The worst I ever remember getting sprayed was on a Sunday. Grandpa Shoy's store was right next door where we lived. This was before we went up the farm. And he had said to me on a Friday or Saturday or something, he said, Sterling, I want you, and I'll give you $1 if you catch the rat that's got the hole underneath the shed. Well, the shed was the hot part of the garage where they kept all their feet in. So I said, okay. So I set a trap on a Saturday night. That Sunday morning, on the way walking down to the church, I said to my dad, I said, I gotta go check my trap. He hollered at me and said, no, he said, you leave that trap alone. I said, well, I'm going to go check. Well, I went and checked. The trap was gone, was underneath the house where the porch was. I pulled it out. Instead of a rat, it was a skunk on the end of it. Dad said, you know what you're going to do? I said, yeah, I'm going to go home and change clothes. You know, he said, you were dumb enough not to listen to me to start with. You're going to go to church in the same clothes that you came back. And I had got sprayed pretty good. So, yeah.
Bet you were popular. Bet you were popular.
Well, almost everybody back then done trapping or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody's that close to me, but they had got me. Yeah.